this point, it is our pleasure to turn the attention of the program today to a report to the community. We want to make sure that you know what is happening in 2016 with United Way and what some of the things are happening in 2017 that are coming up. So to do this, I'd really like to ask for some help. I'd like to have Tom Hill, our Community Impact Director, come to the stage. Hey. Good to see you. Awesome.
Good to see you, too.
So we have had an outstanding 2016.
Absolutely.
Some really important things that we want to talk about with regard to the results. And so why don't we just go ahead and kick it off?
Absolutely.
Right?
Last year at this time, we were actually able to stand up here and talk to you about that in the community, we were going to be embarking over the next 5 years on making progress towards 4 bold community impact goals over the next number of years. And that's the key. We were going to make progress, not just progress, but measurable progress towards these goals. So you might be saying, well, why these 4 goals? How'd you come up with them? And if you're honest, all these goals are very interconnected. None of them can happen in isolation, right? You know, when we talk about preparing students to succeed, it's probably pretty hard for that to happen if these kids are waking up in a homeless shelter, if they're not sure exactly where they're going to get their next meal. It's probably pretty hard, if not next to impossible, to make sure or help people be independent if they're fleeing from a domestic violence situation. So we as United Way, we as a community have a responsibility to look at all of these issues, and we bring intentional focus and an individualized strategy to each one of these goals. So for example, when we're talking about reducing hunger and homelessness, do you all know that on any given night right now in our community, there's over 591 individuals and families that don't have a safe and stable place to go. So I want you to close your eyes for a second. Think about this. Who do you picture when you think of homelessness? Now, I'm sure each of you probably have a different image or maybe a different face in your mind. Did the person look like this? Maybe they look like this. Maybe they look like this or this.
The fact is, these are all of the faces of homelessness in our community. And so for each one of these people, they might be facing a separate set of obstacles. And that's what makes it really challenging in order to solve homelessness. You know, some of the obstacles might be mental health, addiction. We might have lack of education.
Abuse, right?
Or abuse, exactly. So all of those things are incredibly challenging.
Absolutely.
So when we think about the unique circumstances, you know, it's just like your family and my family. We all have unique challenges or opportunities that each of us and our families face, and those families are very similar. It's very similar for them. And we know because those challenges are complex, there isn't one single solution to homelessness. You can't, you know, I visit with a lot of different people and they say, I've got it, Christy. You know, all we need to do is build a really big apartment complex and put all the homeless people there, and then we've solved homelessness.
Problem
and it's
solved.
great.
We're done.
Problem
Let's go
solved.
home. Yeah.
And that's just not how it works. Because as we know, it's one of those things that we have to first give them an opportunity to have a safe, stable place.
Right.
But then we need to be able to provide those supportive services to meet people at their point, specifically in need. So, you know, as we think about this, this is why United Way has made over $1 million of investment over the last year in really what we think about as a continuum of care across. If you want to put that slide back up, that continuum of care I think is really important for our community to understand that this is how we look at our strategy when it comes to reducing hunger and homelessness. And we believe that by making over $1 million investment across 20 different partners that we work with, we believe that this is the right way and the right strategy to truly reduce homelessness in our community.
And so when we talk about results and we talk about the work that our community partners are doing, it's results from partners like YouthWorks and Stepping Stones Resource Center, who are working in the arena of youth homeless outreach, who collectively last year provided over 1,500 bus passes there, 14,000 food baskets, or over 3,100 personal hygiene items to at-risk and homeless youth. And you think about this, just in the Fargo Public School District alone, about 2% of the student population is homeless. So that means they don't have a safe or stable place to go at night. And so if we can help these kids early on, you know, honestly, before they've been homeless for multiple years, this is going to impact our entire community. Less resources being utilized, and lives are back on track sooner. And that's obviously not important just to that young person, but it's important to all of us. And it's important for individuals and families who are in crisis or who are hungry to make sure that they have a stable place to go at night and that they have food to eat. And that's why emergency shelters, feeding, and food recovery programs are such a critical point and component of our strategy to reduce hunger and homelessness. Now, our shelters and our pantries are a piece of this strategy. But we know, as Christy was talking about, the long-term solution to reduce homelessness is, in fact, housing. Housing First. Housing First is actually it's an internationally recognized approach that prioritizes providing people who are experiencing homelessness with permanent housing as quickly as possible. And Christy mentioned this, and I don't know if you caught it, but this is probably the most critical component of Housing First. Once housing is provided, you actually then provide supportive and wraparound services to that individual or family to meet them at their point of need so they can keep stable housing. Now, we've been collaborating with partners like the FM Coalition for Homeless Persons, Presentation Partners in Housing, and many others to implement and scale this new way of working in our community. This strategy focuses on the people who are hardest to house, oftentimes those that are utilizing a lot of resources, right, from our first responders, our hospitals, emergency rooms, detox centers, jails, what our friends in the social service industry oftentimes call frequent flyers, right, people that they see over and over and again. And frankly, all of us as taxpayers are paying for those services. And while we're grateful that those services exist, Housing First is a more effective and efficient way to make sure that this group of men, women, families can achieve stable housing and that we're actually reducing homelessness. You all sitting in this room made that possible by investing with United Way. When we get folks stably housed, they're able to get back on their feet, they're able to get employed, they're able to reintegrate into the community, and our community wins because we're spending less dollars on resources that are often costly and unnecessary. I want to say again that Housing First is a way long-term to reduce homelessness in our community.
You know, earlier we had an opportunity to hear from Lucas and his story and how he brought some of his team members together. And, you know, I think about this idea of perspective is really important. And so we got to hear a little bit about this family of 4 that had an opportunity to have a house and have housing thanks to great volunteers. But I wanted to give you another perspective, and a perspective that you helped make possible. And this is the perspective of working with this family through the eyes of one of our housing navigators. And through your United Way investment, you were able to make this person who is so influential in the lives of people who need that additional resource and that supportive service. You made this happen. So I'm just going to share her words with you today. She would say, each day of hers is filled with adventures, like grocery shopping on a budget of $4 a day, or accompanying participants to their first doctor's appointment in 10 years. We aspire to help participants first get into housing, then figure out ways that they can align their lives closer to their dreams. For some people, this means learning to clean their toilet, or maybe even take out their garbage. For others, it means getting the paperwork sorted out so their kids can spend weekends with them. Whatever their dream is, we walk beside them to achieve housing stability and connect them with the supports they need. One day last fall, I was bringing a participant, Patty, to see a mobile home for her daughter, and her granddaughters. They had been homeless for 4 years. Earlier that month, the United Way facilitated getting a group together of talented volunteers to help completely renovate this old mobile home. To me, it was an awe-inspiring transformation, and to Patty, it was life-changing. I never dreamed that we could walk into a place as nice as this, she said softly. Can we really live here? Before I could respond, she began anxiously talking about her recent bankruptcy or her daughter's felony and how her 2 granddaughters were missing more school than they were attending because they didn't have a stable place to stay night to night. Your family deserves a home right now, just as you are, I responded. We can work on all of those other things, but you need and deserve to have a home of your own first. Fast forward, a few months later, I arrived for a home visit the day before Christmas, and I was happy to find the family healthy and filled with gratitude and joy. It was perfect. When I left an hour later, I couldn't shake off the image of how this would be an amazing follow-up show and a show like Fixer Upper. While we didn't have a $200,000 budget, we did have a group of supportive community members driven to open their hearts and work hard, turning a dilapidated mobile home into a lovely home. There is an inherent dignity that comes from not only having your own home, but reclaiming your independence within it. As a housing navigator, nothing inspires me more than seeing the community come together to tear apart unjust social structures and renovate them into spaces of empowerment. Spaces where families can feel safe, where they can regain their autonomy, and then build a better life than what they used to dream was possible. You made that happen. You made it possible for that housing navigator to work with that family. And it's not just about one program, and it's not about one person.
Get
right?
me choked up. Don't stop it.
It's about all of us. It is about all of us working together and collaborating our financial resources and our volunteer resources and our time.
You know, and at the end result, at the end of the day, what happens is that these little girls now get to sleep in a warm bed at night instead of in the backseat of a car. And when they go to school in the morning, they're going to get picked up by the bus in front of their home, not a homeless shelter. You know, but these little girls aren't alone. Right now in Cass and Clay counties, 24% of our homeless population are youth. They're under the age of 18. That's 1 in 4, folks. And a quarter of those homeless youth are having difficulty controlling their emotions. They're getting trouble in school, and they're acting out, and they're having difficulty getting along with others.
Well, and it's easy to see why. If they don't know where they're going to sleep at night and they don't know where their next meal is coming from, it's hard for them to have that stable life. And also, when you think about that disruption, it's not just them, but it's the students that they're in class with. It's also with their teachers.
Right. All of this is interconnected. It's interrupting their learning time. It's interrupting all the students that are in that classroom. What I can say is that together, though, because of the work that you are all doing by investing your time and your resources, by the work that our community partners are doing, providing direct services to individuals every day, that collectively last year, we were able to help 270 individuals and families move into stable and permanent housing because of supportive housing and Housing First initiatives. Again, you all make that happen every single day.
These statistics alone are why we feel like it is so important for us to continue to make a $1 million investment next year and actually increase that investment going forward in the next 3 years. You know, we are truly able to make progress on this goal. And as we're talking about these kids, we're also talking about helping kids succeed in other ways. And so when you look at the continuum of Bold Goal 2, where we make investments in the areas of early education, where we make investments in out-of-school time programming and parent engagement, last year we spent over $1.2 million making sure that we were investing in our kids. You know, investments in programs like the Incredible Years program, which we have been working with Solutions Behavioral Healthcare Professionals and the Moorhead schools for several years, and we are seeing some outstanding results. We are seeing, because we measure and because we have this great partnership with them, we're seeing that 86% of parents that participate in this program are seeing that they are having success with helping their children's behavior do better and help them be better in school. But we're also seeing that these parents that are going through this class are having better relationships with the rest of their family members as well. And so bottom line, these investments are helping to bring families together. And we are excited because of these really positive results in Moorhead, and that we have great relationships with the school districts, that we are going to be able to move this program from Moorhead and expand it over to West Fargo, the West Fargo Public Schools. And we are excited about that work because we know that this is working. And it's just like you out there, when you have a business strategy and you see that it's working, you want to fuel it, you want to expand it, you want to do more of it, and we do too. And we want to do this because we ultimately believe that we will be able to see more children succeed because we're doing the right things at the right times with the right people. We're excited about it.
Absolutely. And you know, when we talk about student success, it leads to independence. right? When these kids graduate high school, go on to post-secondary education, become career ready, they become independent. But I want you to think about independence. What does independence mean to you? What does it mean to your family? What does independence look like? Well, what do you think independence looks like for a person like Jeff? Whether it's having opportunities to socialize with his peers or it's opportunities to obtain gainful employment. That's why we've been partnering with organizations like the Vocational Training Center right here in Fargo that last year alone provided over 7,000 meaningful work opportunities to hundreds of individuals. You think about independence for a person like Cal. Maybe independence for him means help with his medications or rides to his doctor's appointment. So that will allow him to live independently rather than in a nursing home facility. And this is important. I just want to bring this up from the numbers standpoint because I think this is pretty astounding. Did y'all know that right now in North Dakota and Minnesota, the median cost for full-time nursing home care is about $8,700 per month? So think about that, $8,700 per month for full-time nursing home care. But because we invest in partners and programs like Community of Care, Barnesville Area Helpers, and the Caregiver Support and Respite Program, and thanks to every single one of you, last year collectively we were able to help ensure that 491 seniors and vulnerable adults were able to remain safe, stable, and independent in their own homes, not only providing them a quality of life, but saving their families and taxpayers millions of dollars each year.
It's exciting.
Absolutely.
As we look forward and we look back, we know that we want to build on this success that we've seen with the measurements that we have been able to obtain back, and we want to make sure with Bold Goal 4 that we want to continue to help lift people out of poverty. And we believe that one of the ways that we're doing this is through workforce development. And we've been talking with different partners in our community, and obviously, if you've been to the Chambers event lately or an economic development event, you know that we're talking about workforce, aren't we? Everybody's trying to figure out how do we maximize our workforce? How do we put people in the right jobs in the right places? And we think that there is an opportunity by making sure that we have skills and connecting skills with people in our community that need those skills. We have an opportunity to unlock more of the workforce as well. We know that you're hiring. I know that if I asked you to raise your hand, I would see a lot of hands that are up. But when we ask what are the barriers for certain people, so especially people living in poverty, to get a job, we hear two things.
Absolutely.
We hear that there is a lack of skills, and we hear that there is a lack of affordable childcare. And so what are we doing about it? One of the cool things that we've started is a partnership with M-State and Lakes and Prairies Community Action. And we're working with them to provide supportive services to individuals who are interested in obtaining a deeper skill set. And so what we do is we provide opportunities for them to obtain welding training, or they can get their certification for a certified production technician, which provides them that first level of training so they can go in and start working and they know how to safely work around light manufacturing. It's so exciting because then when we have those people that we've been able to connect in with those skills, we're now taking it to the next step, and we've been having lots of conversations with people and companies and industry leaders, and we want to connect them with jobs. And so we're making that connection possible. And we think about this as it's good for our community, but I want you to think about what it means for their families. When these individuals have the opportunity to gain some skills that they didn't have before and obtain employment, gainful employment,
Absolutely.
and they have the opportunity then to provide for their family. So it's not just a hand up, it's a strategy to give them an opportunity to lift their families out of poverty. It's incredibly inspiring.
It really is, and as we talk about the skills gap, the other part of this equation that Christy just mentioned, the other part of the workforce challenge is in fact affordable childcare. So again, if you've been to any one of our events in the past 5 years, we've been talking about affordable childcare because it is an issue. You know, in order to provide families opportunities to be gainfully employed, last year alone in 2016, United Way ensured that almost 300 working families had access to childcare scholarships for affordable childcare. Almost 300 families. This is a dual generation strategy. I'm going to be honest with you, this is not just babysitting. This is lifting families out of poverty. Businesses, all of you sitting in the room today, This affordable childcare is helping your workers be employed today while simultaneously preparing that next generation of workers to be ready for jobs that honestly haven't even been created yet. And because we measure the results of your investment, we know that the kids who go through high quality childcare, when they hit school, they're ready, socially, emotionally, and academically. And the bottom line, what that means is when they graduate from high school and go on to career and technical schools or a 4-year degree, they are going to be ready to take the jobs take the jobs that are ready in generations to come.
It's absolutely exciting, Tom, and you have done an amazing job
Sorry, I get
in
excited
leading.
about this,
No,
yeah.
I'm glad you get excited. If you don't get excited, we're in trouble, because you do an awesome job. You do a fantastic job of putting that strategy together, and we appreciate you. Can we just please thank Tom for his leadership in this area?
And thank you to our community partners as well that make this happen on a daily basis.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. Just in case you didn't hear that, Tom just had said thank you to our community partners, because you are truly our partners. We adore you. We love working with you. You are amazing. And together we do some absolutely great things. And I think that that deserves a round of applause, too, to our community partners. So there's a few more stats, but don't worry, I won't bring them out to you right now. I want you to know that the stats are in the middle of the program today. So as you take that with you, there is so much rich, good information. We want to make sure that you have that at your fingertips. Also, at the end today at 1 o'clock, you'll be actually getting a link with a survey for the event. We'd love to hear back from you, and it will also have the link so that you can access our annual report, which is hot off the press today. We're trying to do something and be a little bit more green, and so we want to make sure that we provide those to you electronically first. So, as we've talked about today, there's some awesome things happening in this community. There are some awesome people in our community that are doing great things. You all are doing phenomenal things, and we appreciate you. And it's our role to continue to provide information and to give you the information you need so that you can truly ignite your compassion, and then together we can create action.